Hi y'all, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
Hi, I'm Holly.
Hi, I'm Ann.
Hi, I'm Marie. And we are coming to you live from Austin, Texas because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, happy spring, happy last Wednesday of March. We hope you're having a great day. Are you guys having a great day?
Yes.
These girls have been so busy. We are preparing for 3 really fun days. What are we doing, guys?
We having a workshop this week or something?
Yeah.
Is that what's happening?
Danny Ives is coming for 2 days of workshops. Lots of our friends are coming from different parts of the country. We're going to be needle felting realistic pet portraits. We're super excited. And then on Saturday, we're going to do a little live session too. And Danny's going to do like a book signing and, you know, meet and greet kind of fun stuff like that. So thank you for joining us. We're having a crazy busy day and we're so glad that you stopped in. We're going to get started, y'all. And the fairies go out. So those are all the fairies that make magic things happen here every single day for you. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to Woolly Wednesday. And hey, be sure you hit the bell so you get notified every time we go live up there in the chat window. If you're watching the replay, hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time we post a new video. And us, we are the LivingFelt crew. We're based here in Central Texas. We have friends all over the world, so I bet right now you're seeing some really awesome people chime in and say hi where they're from. So we hope you'll do the same. Say hi and where you are from. And if this is your first time, definitely say I'm new. We got some friends joining us, Ann?
Yes, we've got Stephanie in Austin, Minnesota.
Very cool.
Yeah, Judy in Tennessee.
Let me tell you what we are doing this week. For those who are with us live, we are needle felting Storybook Bunny. Woolly Wednesday is different every time. Sometimes we do a tutorial, sometimes it's show and tell, sometimes we have a special guest. Today is a needle felting tutorial for Storybook Bunny. We were supposed to do it last week and got derailed. But if you're brand new, you can watch back last week, and it's a great primer for this week. We needle felted Dot, which is our little bunny ball, and you'll learn some great skills if you want to just practice on something. But anybody could do Storybook Bunny from the first time out. We're going to ratchet this tutorial down into 1 hour. Even though I would say we've done this in about a 3-hour workshop. So I think about 3-hour workshops. So we want you to take your time, but we're going to go through it pretty quickly today. That is our main project. And we're going to go over all the supplies and all the techniques. Before we jump into today, I want to invite you to come back and join us Saturday morning. We're on Central Time, so right now it's 2 o'clock our time. Saturday morning at about 9:45 to 10:15, the lovely Danny Ives, is her picture on here? I don't know if her picture's in the book. We have a poster of her in the hallway. Danny Ives is going to join us. I hope you got a copy of her book. We do have this available for everybody who pre-ordered. We shipped out the books. All the domestic orders went out on Monday. And this is a great book for 2D needle felting. Danny is absolutely a master at this technique, and she shares all of her secrets in this great book. So Saturday morning, 9:45 to about 10:15, we'll have a little chit chat with her, and maybe she'll pick out a few of her projects in the book and just give you a glimpse of some of the things you could do and answer a few questions for you. And we're just so excited to have her and our friends join us. So if you can't be here in person, come back on Saturday morning just for a half hour, grab your coffee or your tea and a nice snack, and we'll just have a little visit before she does a book signing for the day with us.
Wonderful, and a couple of our felting friends have posted that they've already received their books.
Oh, yay! It's so exciting! It's so exciting. Hey, and if you're local, come on in on Saturday. We're going to have a little party from 10 to 1. We're celebrating our 15th birthday this year and kicking off Danny's book, so that's lots of fun too. And thank you all for being here. Oh, I see there's Karen is in Sweden. That's so nice. I see Linda in Florida and Lori. Hi, Lori. She's new. Everyone say hi, Lori. Very cool. Laura's in Louisiana. Oh, great. We have Valerie in the UK and Natalie in Chile. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so you've waited long enough. It's time to make Storybook Bunny. Anna's our producer. That means she's going to watch your questions roll in. We're going to do our very best to answer your questions as we can. Sometimes they're a little either more detailed or outside of the scope of what we're working on. So, whoops, sorry. If we don't answer your question today, Anne's going to share a link to we call it our CRM system. And that's the best way to communicate with us, whether it's about an order, a question you have. You can pick up the phone and call us Monday through Saturday. We open at 9, we close at 4 during the week, and 10 to 4 on Saturdays. And or you can use our CRM system, and that way we can help you. We can help you pick colors. We can help you learn what you want to start with for a project. So we're here to help. Cool. All right, we ready to get started? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn down the cameras. We're going to look at the projects we're working on today. We're going to run through supplies. We're going to look at bunny parts, and that's for all ages. And then we're going to start building our bunny. So let's get started. Okay, this is Storybook Bunny. He doesn't weigh very much. He weighs less than an ounce probably altogether. And we're making him with our CW1 core wool, which is an undyed fiber. And also we use vintage brown. So this is our CW1 core wool. I've shown it to you before. You can get it in a roving format in a bag, or you can get it in a great big batting. And this is our MC1 batting. If you're new to us, this is our signature fiber. We make so many things with it, whether you're wet felting or needle felting. And this color is called vintage brown. So that's the color that we chose for Storybook Bunny. And my only tip is, if you're making a big project or several projects and color is super important, you want to get enough fiber to do all of it, because fiber color can change from lot to lot since it's such an organic product. And then we're going to use a little bit of cotton white on his tummy and whatever pink you have for his nose. So these are the two main fibers we're going to use for him. And somebody mentioned that they had a kit, so we do have a kit for this little guy. He's only $9.95, so it's just a supply kit to accompany the free tutorial. So you can get that on our website, and it's going to come with everything that you need today except for the foam and needles. So let's look at that.
A couple of our felting friends want to know, is the kit available only for a limited time, or will we continue to offer it?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, no, I think we'll continue to offer the kit for sure. Why not? It's fun. Now, if we run out of vintage brown, then we might need to substitute a similar color. Pecan might be a similar color, or willow would be cute, or something like that. But for now, we're just offering it in the one color to make it easier on ourselves. And before we jump into Bunny, I want to show you, if you're brand new, we made this little guy last week, and he's a great primer project. You learn how to do the glass eyes. You would learn one way just to do the ears, and just how to start to needle felt and firm a shape. So he's called Dot, and that's an option. And if you don't like how we're going to add the arms and legs today, I wanted to show you this little guy's cousin, and his arms are just needle felted right on, and his legs are needle felted right on, and he's got great big paws. So he's a little bit more like a statue, but his head is very similar. And so we're going to be looking a little more at these shapes, but I want you to notice the shape of the head, because this is going to be the part that you're going to have to take time on for yourself, is to really start to shape the parts of your bunny. So let's jump into the bunny parts, which will be our target, and show you that next. Yeah.
Well, vintage brown is getting lots of love.
Oh, it's one of my favorite colors. I want you to know. Vintage brown, one of my favorites. I'm going to put these bunnies away. Okay, so let's look at some bunny parts. Bunny parts are good if you're a bunny. We're going to start by making the head and the body. So here's our little bunny head, and here's our body with the eyes inserted, and we'll get to that point. I'm going to show you everything. We're going to make ears, and the ears are going to get attached onto our bunny when we're ready. We're going to make arms And this is sort of like a simple little cheat, if you will, like it's kind of an easy way to do sort of a simplified armature. And legs. This is our goal today. Am I missing any bunny parts? We're gonna make a head, a body, ears, arms, legs. That's what we're gonna do today, as fast as we possibly can. So the other supply besides the wool is wool felt, and that is included in the kit, right, Dan? A little wool felt sheet is in the kit, and we're going to be using that on the inside of our ears today. So if you have all these supplies, well, that's fabulous, and if you don't, you can just pick up the kit. It's pretty inexpensive. So let's jump into our bunny parts. Are we good?
Good. A couple of our felting friends want to know, how big is the bunny?
Oh, he is probably, Anne knew you would ask this. Okay, so the way my bunny stands right now, he's probably not quite 4 inches tall. Not quite 4 inches tall. Mine's little. Yours can be bigger depending on how you make it, but you're gonna, I would say to play with it first, and I'm gonna show you a little bit about the legs, because you don't want him so heavy that he won't stand, unless, yeah, you just want him to sit. You could position your bunny legs any way you want if you just want him to sit instead of stand. So I'm propping my guy up just because I'm bouncing all over my table here, but he does stand. Okay, are we good? All right. With your core wool, whenever you get wool, if you get an 8-ounce bag, you can divide it however you want, you know, so you know, but he weighs less than an ounce. In our kit, we're putting a whole ounce. So here's my recommendation. Take that whole ounce and divide it in half lengthwise. Then you know you're gonna have a 1/2 ounce and a 1/2 ounce, okay? Take 1/2 ounce and use that for his body. Where we're going to be this shape, and take the other one and split it again, and we're going to use that for his head. And you can always add what's left to either shape if you want it to be bigger, or you could take away if you want it to be smaller. So just take what's left and kind of wrap that up. If you already know how to needle felt, I'm sure all of this is not really necessary for you, but it's just a little primer. So for those who are brand new, what we're going to be doing is making a ball and an egg shape, and we're going to do that pretty fast. So the head is a ball and the body is an egg shape, pretty much. Well, I forgot to cover one supply, and that was chenille stems. So I meant to mention, so one of the things in the supplies is chenille stems. We give you 2 in the kit, you only need 1, but just in case you mess up, you have 2. And there's other stuff. The glass eyes are in there, and we have the glass eyes in there, and we have some button thread. I need to reshoot that after. Okay, so let's make the head. And here's my hot tip whenever you're making parts. We're gonna make the head, and we're going to roll a ball. Now my wool is really long, so I'm gonna let it be long like that. And I'm gonna start by making a ball by just making a little tube, and I'm really pressing into my foam a lot. And notice that as I'm pressing, I'm scooping in the edges and scooping in the edges. You don't want any big folds. You want minimal air, and you want that piece to be really firmly compressed. And we did go over this last time. The more it's compressed in the beginning, then the less you actually have to poke it with your needles to make it firm. Use the coarsest needle you have to start. Mine's a 32. And when you use the 32, you're going to really drive it in and make that shape.
We have a couple questions about the chenille stems. The first is, if you don't have chenille stems, could you use pipe cleaners? Pipe
cleaners and chenille stems are pretty much the same thing, I think. I mean, to me, they're the same thing. Chenille stems become like what we've called the craft supply of pipe cleaners. Because when we were a kid, we used Dad's pipe cleaners. My dad smoked a pipe, so we used his pipe cleaners. Okay, so I'm going to noticing the size of my head, I'm going to pull mine off right about here. So you can always add more if you want, but I don't want my head to be gargantuan. So you notice I poked it a little bit to start. You just want the fibers to kind of hold together. And when you needle felt a shape, you're going to needle felt all around that shape. But hold the wool taut until you get it all tacked down. For some people, it's easier to do this rolling in the palm of their hand. I like to see it on my foam mostly. So I'm gonna roll it all up and just get a basic ball shape going. Get it all together, and I lost track of it. I lost it already.
And Jane wants to confirm, so this, for the head, it's a 1/4 ounce of core wool?
It's, it's an approximate. My bunny weighs about 0.7 all together, and so it's really an approximate. Your bunny could be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. So I wouldn't worry too much about the weights. Start by making your head and add more if you feel like you need it to be a little bit bigger of a size. And, and same with the body. You can add or take away from the body. The most important thing is to start with a really firm shape. So you want to needle felt this piece and get it nice and firm, and you're going to want to take your time with that. And we won't have time to go through all the stages of manipulation of our ball and our egg shape today, but make it mostly a ball, and you can start giving it a bit of a conical shape, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay.
Rose asked, what size needle are you using?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. So I'm using, the blue is a 32 triangle, which is our most coarse, and the pink is a 36 triangle, which is our next most coarse. So just, use either of the one that you have, or whichever one feels the most comfortable. And notice that with this needle, it really is a driving motion, and you want to drive to the center of the shape and not past the center of the shape. So drive to the center and continually turn your shape so that you're always pushing all of that wool towards the center for a compaction. And when you make a shape, try not to make it, to begin with, deeper in wool than like the shaft of your needle. So it would be better if you want to make a bigger shape to needle felt it in stages if you want it to be really firm. And our bunny, we want to be very firm because we're going to be string jointing his head, and we want that to hold up. So this is the rough shape for the head. That's all you have to do. I'm going to pause there, and let's make the body. So using that same fiber, and we're going to follow about the same process, but the difference is we're going to pause and needle felt along the path. So I'm going to start kind of with a ball. So you just start grabbing it all together, and as you build now, as you start to build your shape, pinch this one of the ends more, and let the other one get a little more rounder. Before you needle felt, you can always undo it and go back and tackle it again. So sometimes it means I'm going to sort of roll it at an angle like this and then come back like this, so that I'm putting more wool on the bottom than I am on this end. But pause before you get too far. And again, use the needle that you feel most comfortable with or that you have on hand, and start to tack that wool down so that you start to firm it up where it is. Just a little bit. This is the part, making the underbun, if you will, is the part that you're going to need to spend more time on. I'm just going to flip it around so I can needle felt this top part a little bit. Needle felting the underbun is really worth taking your time. Don't rush it to finish and post a picture of your bunny. Better that you get it done and really nice and firm than rush. Because your bunny should be stable enough to handle, just to hold up to all the pawing that everybody's going to give it. Everyone's going to want to touch it. And this bunny is now, how old did I say? He's about 6 or 7 years old? This bunny is 6 or 7 years old, and I've never touched him up. Never touched him up with a felting needle. And that's what happens if you make a firm and smooth surface. If his surface was super fuzzy, it would be all messed up. Okay, so now you can decide how big you want your body, and if you get it to where you want it, just pull off this balance, and you always have this nice little loose flange. When you finish, when you're finishing up a shape, or you're stopping a length of a shape, you always want it to be loose and fluffy like this and tapered so that you can just blend it around the rest and blend it in. That doesn't matter whether you're doing a top color or you're doing the under color. You want it to be very smooth without a bunch of folds. So if your shapes are kind of like this, now notice I just have like a big oval. Before you go too far, now's the time to start to make it like an egg. And here's let me give you my body shape to look at. Here's a couple. Here's a medium-sized one. Here's a little tiny bun. And here's sort of a little bigger bun, but he's covered. So those are just some suggestions so that the head can sit right on top of there. And I'm gonna give him like a little bit of a flat point, not too pointy like a real egg. But what you're gonna wanna do is start to shape this piece, and you'll see which is the bottom and which is the top.
So Linda shares, I know now that I'm not making my base firm enough. Thank you so much for the lesson.
Oh, very cool. Thank you, Linda. And so we will look at that because when we string joint the head, we don't want the body to distort, and we want the head to be tight enough that it doesn't have to be restrung after a year or so. All right, I've got a rough body here and a rough head. Here's your goal. You need to work on your shapes and continue using your coarse needles, and then you can progress to your medium needles. For us, that might be a 38 star or a 38 spiral, or it could be a group of them. If you like this, you can even try working with a little cluster of finer needles, whether it's a 40 or a 42. I have found that they actually are really awesome for shaping and puncturing wool. They really are. Now you have to go gradual with them because they're fine and they only go so far, but they really can be awesome. When you're firming up your shapes, rather than just go in the sides, make sure that you take your needle and you also go in this way. You want to also go up and down and not just squishy the whole thing in. So make sure you're going into the top and into the length and into the bottom directly and into the shape. You don't want to just attack that shape this way. You want to firm it up in all directions. You know, just like when we're wet felting, we roll it in all directions, and compressing the wool is the same way. So don't just go in, go down, go up, and move your sphere the entire time. So here's what you want to do with the firmness, and some of you have already seen our firmness videos. You want to get them nice and firm so that when you press it to the point where your nail beds are white, it's not distorting and it completely bounces back. So remember our test. This, if you put your finger and your thumb together and you press on the base of your thumb, this would be like, this is, I told Anne, this is a cooking for meat test. This would be like rare, this would be medium, this would be well done, and this would be very well done. And you want these pieces to feel somewhere between well done and very well done. They should feel the same. And then you know they're going to be nice and firm. So continue shaping your body, and let's look at the head shape.
Wonderful. And a couple of our felting friends want to know what the best ratio for the head to the body.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I know you, I mean, if you were talking to someone technical, you know, for me, that's a really good question, but if you kind of go with the weight, I think my bunny is probably 3 heads high. Like, you know, he's just a goofy little bunny. He's not a real bunny, so he's probably 3 heads high. That might be a measurement that you use. So once you get your shapes in place, I want to show you some direction for shaping the head of your bunny. You're going to kind of go gradual, and that is before you get your ball for your head, rock hard, and we might zoom in just a tiny bit so we can look at the shapes we're going for, even though some of these are covered. As you start to firm up your head, we're going to take our egg shape. Let's see, here's one. We're going to take our egg shape and start to make it, start to make it a little more, the bead for the head, we're going to start to make it a little more egg shape. We're going to start to give it a place for the nose and the eyes, and we're going to progress until we have a little spot ready to put our eyes in. So let me show you how to do that. We have this little shape, and I'll work on this guy right now. And I'm just going to use my 38, I'll use a 38 spiral. And I've decided that this is going to be the nose. So I'm going to start compacting first right into what would be the face here, right into here. I'm going to compact in this way a little bit. You can do this after you've added the brown over the top or before. It just really depends on how comfortable you feel. And if the back feels squishy, firm up the back. Remember, you can always add wool at this time if any of the shapes feel odd, you know, if it feels like it's not in place. So you want this to get nice and firm. And then we want to start forming this little shelf for the face and the eye sockets. So go with your really coarse needles, the blue or the pink, the 32 or the 36, and decide where you think those eyes are. I have mine on the side, and it's a little easier to see when you have, you know, a completed one in front of you, and you can decide where you want yours to go. So these coarse needles are really great for making something like an eye socket. So do one, then the other, then one, then the other. This might be easier once you have your cover wool on, but if you do it now, you'll kind of have an idea of what you're heading for, if that makes sense. Just get it started. And now we're going to cover our body and our head with the color. So we have a little bit of a nose shape going, and I'm going to use this needle and just bring this down right into the nose a little bit. We're forming a little bit of a shelf here. Can you see that? A little bit of a shelf. Does that work? A little bit of a shelf. That's what we're going to do. It gives them kind of this, I don't know, this baby little cute little look. So now we want to cover our head and our body with wool, the skin color of your wool, the fur color, the skin color, the fur color. It takes very little to do this. And why don't I do it on an egg shape? I'll do it on an egg shape, just a small one to demonstrate. Take a very thin piece. This is our batting. It's very different from something like a roving. You can peel it into, we probably come back just a tiny bit, Anne, on this one. With this batting, you will find that it's thick and lofty, and what you can do is peel very thin layers. And you only want to use as much as you need, meaning as much thickness as you need. There's no reason to put more bulk on there than you need. That's why we use core wool, so that your dyed wool goes further, because that stuff costs more. So that's the whole point of it. And you only need enough to cover your shape. So here, this is about how much I need to cover my little body. And I'm going to tear all the rest off and just be as tidy with it as you can, and then you'll be able to use it for something else. So that's all I do, is I kind of piece it so that it goes a little bit past on all the edges. And we're going to have a little bit extra here. You can just pluck it off just like that. If you have pulled off too much, you can always patch it back on. That's the magic of the MC1 batting. Magic, I say. We doing okay?
Doing good. For our friends who have just joined us, can we show a close-up of the bunny?
Okay, this is who we're making today, is Storybook Bunny. He's got a little string-jointed head and semi-posable arms and mostly fixed legs. That's who we're making today. Okay, so right now we're just showing how to cover the shapes with a top color. This is our MC1 batting in vintage brown. Notice that I'm starting at one end, and the tighter you make it from the beginning, the easier it's going to be to smooth it out after. And if you still have too much, you can just pull that off. You only need as much as you need, and hold all that air out. Now, how I like to tack it down is I'm going to use a little cluster of our 42 triangle needles. We paint them yellow. I have 4 of them rubber banded together, and I am just needle felting all along the main part of the body right now. If you're doing the head, you might start with just 2 needles or 1 needle rather than this great big cluster. Practice on the big parts, the bigger parts, and refine. And notice that I'm not doing it 100% in any one section. You want to keep moving. Now we can firm it down on the ends. You don't want so much that there's a big fold, right? You don't want so much that there's a big fold. And again, with this batting, if you have a bare spot, you can come back and tackle it. So just for ease of showing, I'll show you how I do it. I kind of coax the wool. I kind of needle felt it from here up, get it all to lay down. And if you have just a little bit, then you can tack it down without achieving any big folds. If you have so much that it's going to make a big fold, then just peel it off.
One of our felting friends asked if the MC1 has a lot of vegetable matter.
It does not have a lot of vegetable matter, but I will tell you that it does vary a bit from harvest to harvest. We do really big production runs, and so even within the harvest, it can vary. We are very careful with this fiber. It's all US sheep. It is double picked, which means running through a picker breaks up the lock and lets a lot of the vegetable matter fall out. But we wash it with an eco-friendly soap. We do not carbonize it, and carbonizing is a chemical process whereby vegetable matter is normally burned out. But because that involves really harsh chemicals, we have chosen not to do it on our signature fiber. So you will find some vegetable matter. See how I have this extra amount? Just pluck it off. But all you have to think about when you're needle felting with it or wet felting with it is pulling it out of that very surface layer. I mean, I haven't pre-gleaned this at all. I'm gonna have a couple of little bits of vegetable matter. Most of the time, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I wouldn't want a little piece of hay in the nose. And if you don't like it, I sometimes keep a little pair of tweezers on my workstation, and you can just pull it out when you're on the surface layer. Okay, so I'm just gonna progress here a little bit because we're gonna have to jump to each of our parts and take the time smoothing out the wool on your piece. On this stage, when you're putting these top colors on, use your fine needles. If you don't have a 42, use a 40 triangle because you want to have as minimal needle marks as possible. Okay, so spend your time and get this nice and smooth. And by smooth, I mean, I could pick it up and I could handle it and I could rough it up and I could go like this and not pull any fiber off. So you want this fiber to be firmly compact. So cover your head and your body with those.
Robin says, you are fast.
I cheated a little bit. Okay, so I want to show you blending the wool, like blending the wool naturally on the face and tummy so that it doesn't look like a real harsh line. That's, at least on this bunny, I wanted it not to be a harsh line. You might like a really harsh line. Here again's the magic of the batting. This is just a little piece of white, and you can just pull off a little tuft. This is something that you want your fine needles for. I'll just do this little face since he doesn't have any. On this little face, I want the wool to come up. These are going to be the eyes. I want it to come up in between the eyes and around the, let's say, the muzzle. So what's nice about this is you can pull off the tiniest amount, just like that. And if you don't make it have a harsh line, then it won't. So I'm just gonna lay it down just like that. And let's say if I don't want it this high up on the eye, I can just kind of pull it out on each one. Just a tiny bit, get the shape maybe how you want it. And I'm sort of working upside down, but here's what you do is you're just gonna take your needle and gently, lightly tack it into your shape. And if you go wherever these ends meet that shape, if you kind of go into it this way, then it'll blend this way. If you go at it this way, you're going to create a harsh line. So if you don't want a line, then just let the fibers lay down how they fall and just gently tack them down just like that. So it's hard for me to be refined if don't have my face into bunny, but you can see, even though I haven't shaped it really well, that we don't have any really harsh lines and it just looks like a nice little blend. Is that good? Think that's okay? Okay, and the same with the tummy. So here's another example. This little guy, his lines are a little more specific, but it doesn't look like I've laid, a real harsh line on there. It just kind of blends and it's a little see-through, which is what I wanted with this bunny. And you might want something different with yours.
Sammy shares, ooh, so that's the trick.
Just with the batting, lay it down, and wherever you want it to blend, needle felt in that direction as opposed to this direction. Okay, that's my tip. Okay, so get your bunny parts covered. Let me see if I can just quickly, which bunny? I'm gonna build this bunny. I'll give him a little quick tummy. a little quick tummy. How are we on time, Ann?
We are good.
Ann says we're good on time. Okay, so we have a few parts to make. I'm gonna just tack him down a real quick tummy. Usually what I do is I go home at night and then just chill out and finish whatever we made in the day. Now if you have something not right where you want, you can try and flick it with your needle a bit, or you can even pull it up. So that's a pretty rough, uneven tum, but I'm gonna leave that for the moment in the respect of time. So we have basically a head and a body. Let's make our other bunny parts before we start to assemble or add eyes or anything. Let me show you how we get these really fun ears. And this is just an option. This guy has 100% wool ears. So if you're a purist, and I am not, you can make your ears out of 100% wool. In this case, we cut felt, 100% wool felt that we sell here in the shop, and we cut them into the ear shape. And I made really big ears. What this allows you to do is have a thinner ear that you can kind of have fun and shape a little bit, and without needle felting back and forth. You just get a real natural color. I think we call this camel, and apply your wool to one side of it. That's what we're doing here. Okay, so just again, another real thin little piece of fiber, just a little bit longer. You want it longer than the ear will be, and just a little bit bigger. Okay, and you can just stack it, make it how you want it. You just want it to be a little bit wider and a little bit longer. So also with the batting is you don't have to use it exactly how it came peeled off. You can patch it. Add another piece and patch it on. So we want it to be a little bit longer.
Wendy shares, I like the ear idea.
It's really a fun way to do it. And with this little bunny, the ears don't actually have to be perfect. You can see, I mean, it's really just kind of a fun way to do it. Now I do use my fine needle on this, and I just start tacking it down right away. Skip what's going to be the part that's extending off of the felt. Just get it to lay down. You know, remember, you're not trying to attach it to the foam. It will get attached to the foam, but using a fine needle to start is a great place to start. You don't have to be overly aggressive. And before you go too far, go ahead and peel it up. Make sure you grab your felt sheet, and then you can go at it again. So we have extended our fiber over the edge, and what you can do is flip it over and decide how far do you want it to come over inside the ear. See, someone asked about vegetable matter. Like, that's an example. Vegetable matter, or VM, it's just a little tiny bit of vegetable matter, hay, grass, whatever the sheep get into. It's no big deal. Pick it up and stick it on the side of your phone. Okay, so all I do on these ears, and it's just an option, is I just guide it over with my needle and tuck it onto the very rim. So you may not want it too big, too big of a fold over, or you might want it big. However you want, there's no rules. All you want are happy little ears. Happy little bunny ears. So make both your ears at the same time. And hey, the fun of using the felt is you can also just decide how big you want your ears to be. So you can try them on your bunny before you add any wool and see how you like them. And you could also just use them as a sizing mechanism. If you're a purist and you don't like to use the wool felt, if you don't like to use the wool felt for the ears, you can just use it as a little size guide for needle felting your ears out of 100% wool. Okay, so I have my wool kind of folded over, but it's a little rough, so now's the time when you're gonna kind of want to go back and take your time, poke it in the side, and get it all laying down. And anywhere you need to add more wool, do. And you can even shape them, even though it's on the wool felt. You can start to shape them and give them little bits of bends and stuff. You could use a more aggressive needle than I do. I just tend to take a kind of a slow, methodical approach to making those ears. So that's the ears. Just get them until they have enough coverage and enough, smoothness so that you're happy with them, and leave a little tail, because that's how we're going to attach them to the head. And right there, right here, where the felt kind of comes to a blunt stop. Just take a tiny pinch of your same color, or you could add pink there or something if you want, you know, something a little playful, and just needle felt that back this way so that you hide that real blunt stop.
And a couple of our felting friends want to know, if you want the ears to be real posable, should you use wire instead of the felt sheet?
You certainly could, but I mean, these ears will stand up. The wool felt ears will stand up. Now, if you're wanting to get super expressive, 100% wool can be shaped into any expression, but if you want to be able to manipulate them, you can use wire, and we won't have time to go over that today. We used to make a bunny kit with wire in the ears, but honestly, the ears were so bulky. Yeah, they were just really bulky. Okay, so make both your ears to the size you want. Let's jump over to the arms and the legs so that we get all of our parts made, because we're low on time, aren't we, Anne? Now we're out of time. Okay, I'm gonna have to hurry. So let me show you how to make one and one as fast as we can so we can get our bunny put together. And so we might run over a little bit. Now, for your bunny, where's my things? For your bunny, you're going to want to decide the length of your arms and legs. Generally, it would help if you hold them up to your bunny body and decide how long you want them to be. Whatever that wire cut is, make this a little bit longer. So this is the example. Here is the length of my arm right here. And what I want is enough that I can just fold a tiny bit. You can do a double if you want, but I just want on my arm a little tiny curl so that the wire from the chenille stems is not sticking straight out. It will always want to poke right through the wool. And then you can cut this to the length you need it. And you can leave it long until you get your wool on if you want, but just use your little needle nose wire cutters and make your two arms at the same time. Now with the feet, my feet, and we like to teach you how to fish, you know, not just give you straight up measurements. So make your bunny the way you want. And like I said, in your kit, you would have 2 of these. For the feet, this is how I make the feet. You make your feet as big as you want, but I want enough that this wire is going to come back, double a little bit, and go slightly up the ankle. So I'm going to measure this for you in a second. This, and I want it to be about that long, not too long, about this long, and I'll measure it for you, and then I'll show you how we're going to shape it. This piece is 4.5 inches, I want to say, 4.5 inches, and my arm is probably 3.5 inches, 4.5 inches and 3.5 inches. You know, go for it the first time and play with it and see how that works for you. On the foot, what we're going to do is bend that foot all the way back so you have a little bit more of a big foot, and then twist it a little bit at what will be the ankle. And we're going to bend it right there at the ankle. So you just kind of have this shape. On either shape, I'll just show you real quickly how to wrap the wool. And I'm sorry we're running out of time. Here's what you do. No core wool on little tiny parts like this. You don't have enough room for any core wool, so just use the solid color. And take a little piece like this, but then divide it into something really, really narrow. This is the key, make it really narrow. I'm going to put the wool right here on this little foot. Move all these parts out of the way. Right on this little foot. Go ahead and wrap it around, and you can even make your foot straight. Oh, by the way, if that's easier, just straighten out your leg. So I've just laid my foot right on the wool. Do the same thing with the arm. Wrap this over the top, and then twist, twist, twist. You're using these fingers to keep the wool flat and even, and this hand twists and pulls tension. We call this the cotton swab tip, and we've shown this a few times. You want the wool to stick off the end a little bit. In fact, you want to twist it over 3, 4, 5 times, and then wrap that wool back over. Mash it down and wrap right over that fold. That fold is probably going to be the top of the foot. And then wrap until you run out of that length of fiber, because you're going to add more fiber. Don't let it get twisty and lumpy and bumpy. When you get to the end, just twist, 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 twist. This fiber will at least hold down initially just by you doing that. You're kind of dry felting it. Each time you stop a length, take the time to needle felt it and shape it. Get it all to lay down before you add another one. Now, you don't have to needle felt it 100%, but you want everything to lay down and get all that little bit of air out. You know what I mean? Get all the lumpy and bumpies out. So take your time shaping those, getting that first layer on, and then add a second layer. Still keep it narrow. What happens if it's too wide, then you get a bunch of twists and lumps and bumps in it, and it's a lot harder to control as you're wrapping. So I just start again, and I'm going to wrap all the way up. And what we want to do is wrap beyond where this stops. If your leg is too long, you could fold that down now. You could try it on your bunny. If it's too long, you could fold that down now. But what you want to do is give yourself a little bit of extra. So keep building up your leg and your arm or whatever you're making until it feels like the right girth, the right dimension for your bunny. And needle felt this whole part, but leave this part loose. I add the white right now. And I'm going really fast, but on my bunny, I would really take my time getting all of this nice and even. So go ahead and add your white and make both feet and both arms at the same time. Now just add the white the same way we did. You can just do like a simple wrap, just like that, simple wrap. Not too much, not too big. Use your fine needle and tack it down. Again, if you don't want a hard line, if you want a hard line, then spend more time giving him socks or whatever. This bunny is not the strongest armature, so we're gonna be looking at his center of gravity as we put his arms and legs on. Are we doing okay?
We're doing good. Everyone is loving that tip for wrapping the wool around the chenille stem.
Oh, good, 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 good. Okay, so I have one big foot. I'm going to use the other feet that I made, and the arms you're just going to make the same way. Like, look how simple it is. It's just tiny. So just play with that and have fun. Now this foot, make the other one before you jump ahead, because what we're going to do is put this right on our bunny body. Now before I jump ahead, for anyone who switches off, I want to tell you, if you're concerned about your bunny standing, or if the body is too heavy, like this is a much heavier body for balancing on the chenille stem, then when you put your legs on your bunny, you might position him just towards the rear of the body, like that, and position him on your foam and let his little butt sit on the foam and his feet sit on the foam at the same time, and then we'll just needle felt it into the body. So he isn't really standing. He just you know what I mean? All of him is on. So if you're concerned about him standing, just make those level. Okay, is that good? All right, so let's jump real fast because we need to get some eyes on this guy and a nose, and I know we're way behind. Last week, I have a kit somewhere. Last week when we made Dot, we showed you how to do these eyes. So maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just talk us through it. We have this in our kit. We're using a little button thread and these little glass beads for eyes. I said I would do loop eyes this time, but we're gonna have to save that for another time, or stem eyes or something. We're gonna have to do that another time because we're out of time. So what we have are these two little glass beads, if you can see those. And the nose is just a little pinch of pink, which I have here. So for the glass eyes, you want to have like a nice doll needle. And this is how we're going to run it, because I need to jump fast, right, Ann? We've got 10 minutes, Ann says. Okay, here's how we're going to do the eyes for those who don't want to go back and watch a whole nother video. Take as much thread as I'm going to stop right there. Okay. Here's what you want to do. Thread your needle. I know I got bunny parts everywhere, sorry. Looks like a bunny boneyard in here. I know it's not the cleanest set you've ever seen. Okay. I'm going to just show you how to do this real fast for those who are brand new. You're going to come up through the bottom of the head. Thread your needle. You want a nice strong thread. If you don't have a strong thread, then double it over. come out through one eye socket with your thread. And then you're going to take your needle off, because most of the needles won't go through the beads, and thread the bead onto the thread. We did this on dot last week. I think I already said that, but we did that on dot last week. So if you just want to jump to that, you can too. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to leave a tail coming out the bottom, and you want enough that you can tie a nice knot. You're going to go back into that eye socket, come out almost where you were, and we're going to pull that really tight. You want your eye sockets to be pretty pronounced, meaning you want them to kind of be in there so that your glass beads don't sit up on the face. Whether you're making an animal or a doll, having the eyes sit up on the face, or like a doll without an eyelids, just looks kind of scary. So this is what you're going to want to do. Now tie this into a real strong knot, and then do the second eye, okay? And get them really tight so that they're in there. I wanted to show you how I make the eyelids because it's super cute, and then let's try and get this bunny together.
And a couple of our felting friends want to know, is any special thread needed?
Use a button thread if you can, some kind of thick thread if you can. If you don't have a thick button thread, meaning if you pull on it and it breaks, then just use a double. Just use it doubled over, okay? All right, so get both of your eyes in and get this nicely knotted so it's just like mine. Nice and knotted there, okay?
One of our felting friends just posted, how does an hour go so quickly? And Janlyn responds, because we always have a great time and learn so much.
Oh, you guys are so sweet. Okay, now the nose, what am I going to show? I'm going to show you the eyelids. Okay, here's my super cute eyelid trick. After you cut your ears out, you're going to have these little scrappy bits of felt. Save those. And just like we did the ears, you're going to cut this tiny little square rectangle of felt, and you're going to needle felt the wool just onto one side, just like this, if you can see that. Just on one side. Then, is that clear? Okay. Then we're going to put him over his eyelid, over his eye, just like that. Is that cute? And you can make it go up like this, or you can make it start at the top of his eye like his does, but just notice, I would start tacking it down with your fine needle first, and you want to tack down the wool, and you can also tack down the foam. So you're going to tack on both of his little eyes, and if you have to add more wool, you can. Where you want that eyelid to go down more, then switch to a more aggressive needle, like boom, boom, boom. And notice that you can just needle felt right into that eyelid. And you can always come back and add a little wool over the top so that, or reposition it. If you don't like it, then reposition it so he looks a little more sad and a little more helpless, wherever you want them. And tuck it in there. I mean, you're only going to be able to beat up that felt so much, but you should have enough to play with that you can really start to shape it. So does that convey? Can you see him?
A little bit.
We're going to zoom in on the live camera first. Okay, you can kind of see. And then, of course, we're just going to take this and blend it all back. Good? And here's on this camera. I'll just hold it in. And then we're just going to blend all this down. So that's how you do the super cute eyelids. Cool. Okay. For the nose, you can stitch the nose first, or put the nose on first. Use a teeny tiny bit on the nose. Here's what we do. You can watch Dot from last week if you want to see it a little more slow. So I'm just going to put a dot on there. This is how I do it. I just put it on there and then I start to shape it. And now I'm upside down, so you will forgive me. I like to form a little triangle line and then tack that wool over. Use your thread that you have down here. Use it, use one of them. If you can just use one of them, and then come back out and trace out your lips. And I'm just going to show that real fast so we can get our bunny assembled. These are like the quick and dirty tutorials. I know they are, and bless you all for putting up with them. Okay, so here we do. Just use that same thread. Come back out, and if you want to trim his nose, you could definitely use a smaller needle than mine, but this is long enough. And you can just use this also as your shaper, meaning you can do this in advance. So now you're going to just stitch over his nose and mouth line. So I'm going to go out here and up the other side of the nose. If you're not happy with the lines, you can always come back and fill it in with wool. But you do kind of want your threads to match, and it's hard for me to do when I'm speed felting here. So forgive me, I'm just going to get her done. There we go, there's one. Here's two. I'm going to come out like right there. You see that? Get my needles out of the way. This is not going to be perfect. Everybody forgive me. And then I'm going to come back out right there. So take the time and make yours as, you know, the way you like it. And you don't have to use this same thread, but if you have enough, it's kind of fun to do and use that same thread. So I know that's wonky and he's like my special bunny, but let's try and get this guy together. Okay, so you can attach your ears before or after, whichever you want. Since he's laying on the ground, let me just go ahead and get that done. Play with your ears and see where you want them, whether you want them sticking up, or I want mine laying down for Storybook Bunny. So just like we did with the other blending, you're going to want to go in this direction. If you just loosely tack them on, or if you pin them on with, you know, pins, then you can play with how they look, you know, with where you want the position. And my guy is like Frankenbunny right now. I'd have to play with him all night. Okay, so Frankenbunny is coming along. I think I got the other eyelid in there somehow. No, I didn't. Okay, so play with your ears and get them how you want them. And then let's string joint it onto our body before we add the other arms and legs. So here's the reason, the real reason your head and your body are so firm and why you want a nice long needle. Because we want to pull that head so tight that he stays on there, but the body does not distort. So I'm actually just going to go from the head straight down all the way through the body with each of those threads, and you want to come right out the middle of the bottom if you can. If your bunny's too big, well, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to, you know, make a full armature bunny. If your doll needle won't make it through, I don't have a solution for you. I don't know what to tell you. But your threads need to be long enough, that's for sure. How are we doing, Anne?
We're doing good.
Okay, so pull that all the way through and pull this one all the way through, and you want to come out just slightly in a different place. I can't seem to go straight today.
Well, Wonky Bunny, as our felting friends are now calling him, is getting a lot of love.
Oh!
And Linda asks, can we post a photo when we finish Frankenbunny?
Okay, I'll have to finish Frankenbunny. Now, get his whatever the front of his body is, and you could always choose that tummy later, but notice, Anne, am I pulling really on this thread right now? I mean, I'm really pulling on this thread, and neither bunny head nor bunny body are distorting, and that's what you want. You want to be able to pull on this so that it doesn't distort. Now, if you don't have button thread for this part, you could use like a waxed floss, you know, the kind of stuff that you might floss your teeth with, mint if you like, but we do have a wax floss that we put in our kits. We just haven't been selling it by itself because honestly, our manpower, our fairy power is about maxed. Okay, so Wonky Bunny's head is attached. You want it to be firm and tight, you know, so that he doesn't come apart. And when you get this part done, what you'll do is you can tie a couple of knots if you want, cut that thread off so that it's invisible, and if your piece is really well done, well then you can just patch that right over. You can just patch that right over with more wool. If there's a nice indent, that's okay too. Just fill it in, and no one will ever know how you got his head on there because it's just going to be seamless. That's what you want to do, is just hide your little threads.
And a couple of our felting friends want to know, what's the benefit to using string to attach the head and joints versus just felting them directly to the body?
This is a lot stronger, but also you can turn his head. you can pose him a little bit. You could even have cockeyed him a little bit, if you wanted to. Now with the arms, that's pretty self-explanatory. Don't I have another arm around here? So with the arms, it's pretty self-explanatory. We just kept a big old fluff on our arm, and you can always patch those in a little more. So just decide where you want them. I'm going to go ahead and put his arms towards the front, maybe, and his legs towards the back. And with these, I'm needle felting right into what is the top of the arm. Now watch out that you don't hit your wire. If you do, you're gonna bend your needle. So you do want to kind of avoid trying to hit the wire if you can. It's gonna happen, but it would be ideal if you don't snap off your needle. So try and pay attention, and watch what you're doing. So see, we can just stick them on there. Am I way over time?
Oh no, it's 3:01.
Okay,
so
3:01. I'm hurrying. I did bend my needle, by the way. Oh, by the way, every time I do something like that, it reminds me to remind you. It's harder for me to pay attention when I'm rushing. So don't rush, y'all. Have fun with Storybook Bunny. He's really cute. You might make him a carrot. Okay, so let's get those legs on there. If you're not sure, I have one half done. I have one half done and one half done. I thought I had 2 legs. I don't. Well, like I said, he's Wonky Bunny, so y'all forgive me and I will finish Real Bunny. I'll have to finish, oh, here's a leg. I'll have to finish Real Bunny another time. So if you're not sure, just put those legs a little bit towards the back and seat him down all the way before you attach him. Now this is a great time. If you're not sure where things go, use your long doll needle, or use, if you want to put both on, use your long doll needle or a pin or something like that and decide where you want all the appendages to be. So you could use pins or you could use your needle. And I'm just going to needle felt them on right there. In fact, I'll just leave that in place for the moment so you can see. And if you can use a little more coarse needle. This is, now I'm using my 38 spiral. You can always come back and patch over, like there where it's joined, but you can flatten all this down, and your coarse needles are gonna handle, if they hit that wire, they're gonna hold up to it a little bit better. So let me jump to this side.
Rose posts, he looks like he will fly away with those ears.
Oh, he definitely needs his ears worked on too, though, doesn't he? This is quick and dirty Wonky Bunny. Maybe I need a better phrase than that one. And I'll smooth out the top of his ears just before we go. He wants to be ready for the party tomorrow. I will try and finish him, and I hope that you'll work on yours too. So here's my goofy Wonky Bunny, not finished and barely standing because I need to keep working on his little pads. So all under here, especially since the legs are not posable, needle felt those right into the body, just like that. And wherever you have, like if you have a big joint right there, you can make this flat and then go back and we can patch in wool right over that joint. I know my fingers are kind of in the way, but make a little patch, and then it can just be like that, and it can just be a little more seamless right where you put his leg on the body, and it'll be a little more fluid, a little more gradual, a little more subtle, if you will.
And our felting friends are very concerned that he doesn't have a fluffy bunny tail.
I know, okay, darn it. I know, I noticed that earlier, that my other bunny does have a fluffy tail. Okay, so let's give him a little tail. Okay, but a bunny tail, it seems like almost a little turn up, but we'll just give him a little. Now, we made a bunny tail recently, didn't we? We sort of made like a little ball. We needle felted a tiny ball. Do you remember? What did we make a bunny tail for? We made a tail, Anne.
Good question.
We did. So here's what I did before. Where'd that go? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I made like a little bead, and then, now, he might have like a turned up tail in reality, but I'm just gonna make a little ball. I'm gonna tuck it into a fluff of wool, and then I'm gonna have that little thingy. And then I'm gonna just needle felt all that straight in. Use a more aggressive needle so you can needle felt right through that bead, and then you can pluck off any extra that you don't want. But that's how I made it still like a real little ball and kind of fluffy. We made a tail recently. I don't remember what for.
Oh, it was for bunny butt.
Oh, bunny butt, right. So if you missed bunny butt, that's a whole nother fun thing, just a bunny butt. So there's this little faux tail and his little legs, like I said, barely on there. And here they are, brothers to the end, Storybook Bunny 1 and Storybook Bunny 2.
And for our friends that joined us just at the end, about how tall are they?
Oh, they're just about 3.5 inches. I think that's what we said. Did we say 3.5 inches or 4 inches tall? Here we are, Bunny Brothers. Anne says they're close to 4 inches tall. And this has been a lot of fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you all too. I can't wait to see your storybook bunnies, and I'll have to go home and work on mine and make him more finished. So we're going to turn up our cameras here and close out the show. If you've been joining us, we give away prizes now. Are y'all going to give away some prizes?
Yeah! Always.
Oh, come on. Go on in.
Who wants the bucket?
So we're gonna draw our first winner is Kathy Falls.
Yay! Kathy!
Okay, Kathy, our prizes today are a needle felting a robin 2D supply kit, the storybook bunny kit, or 2 2-ounce rolls of MC1 batting in the colors of your choice. And dropping stuff.
It's good bat.
Yes. And a pack of 38 star felting needles.
So if your name gets drawn, and we're going to draw 2 more names, all you have to do is email customer service at livingfelt.com or call us at 877-665-5790 and tell us which prize you want. No matter where you are in the world, that's what we're going to send you. Okay, so 2 more names. So yay, Kathy!
Go ahead.
All right, Catherine Sumsky.
Yay, Catherine! Are they both K's?
No, C, it's a Kathy and a Kat.
Okay, 1 more name.
Holly. Gail Griffin.
Yay! Gail! Thank you all so much for felting with us today. We had so much fun, and we look forward to seeing whatever you make in our group. That's fb.com/group/livingfeltfriends. And if you make a bunny, make sure to post him so that we can all ooh and ah over what you made. Please come back on Saturday and meet Danny, 9:45 to 10:15. We'll see you there. Bye, y'all.
Bye.